Enjoy watching it. I enjoy playing it. I enjoy being able to kind of like, when I'm with Christy sometimes and we're watching people like tee off, I'm kind of like, the way they're set up and the way they do things and the way they kind of like put themselves in a certain position, I tell her like, nah, that's not going to be a good one. Like, or once they hit it, I'm like, oh, that was like perfect. I'm like, no, where's it going? Where's it going? And I kind of get myself into a zone of like, when I'm on the golf course, I'm just super I'm full on confident and I'm full on just like I'm in my zone in that area. I think the same thing goes for like when I see Christy, just keeping on this trail here, when I see her coaching, her high school athletes, and she's in the gym and she's talking about volleyball, I can see the fact that like, maybe, she would say like, I'm not the most, biggest expert when it comes to this stuff, but I can see the confidence that she brings onto the volleyball court. Like she knows her rotation. She knows the rotation that it has to be going on. She knows what's happening, even to the point to where like when something gets called, she's standing there and she's like, no, she's like, because you did this, and she's telling him, don't. She's like telling them switch or, do this or don't go too far, don't go too far back, don't jump in here. And you can just see the level of confidence. She's like, I know the rotation I'm putting here. I know what I presented to them. I know what they should be doing. I know every move that they should be making on the court at the exact same time, what they should be doing. I can see the fact that like when I'm working the scoreboard, and something's happening and I see the other team and you can see her like, like she's moving and she's like, she knows right where it's going to. And you can see when our girls are lacking and that ball just comes down and it hits and the other team scores, she's looking at them like, because I saw that way before. And she's just like full on confident mode right there in that point in time, knowing the fact of what's happening there on the court. Okay, so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because we're talking about Psalms 23. We're talking about King David. And King David, before he was a king, he was a shepherd. And this was a job that he did very well. This was a job that he knew very well. This was a job that he himself was an expert in. All right, if there was anyone who can describe the world of shepherding, this was David. David was able to talk to you about this more than being a king, more than being a husband, more than being a father, more than being a ruler, more than being a warrior, more than being a soldier. He knew exactly what it meant to be a shepherd. And so for tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about who is your shepherd. And again, the reason why I'm relating this to is because in this moment right now, when we read Psalms 23, David starts off with saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. David doesn't go back and say, the Lord is my king, the Lord is my soldier, the Lord is my almighty father, the Lord is the person that, that he can relate to. He's not thinking, what have I done before? Let's see on my resume, I'm a king. Let's see what else. I was also the person who conquered 20 out of 25 battles. I'm 20 for 20, I'm undefeated on the battlefield. He wasn't referring to the Lord as any one of these, but he referred to him as a shepherd, because the one thing that David could relate to more than anything else was being a shepherd. And I think I wanted to really think about, when it says, when I title it, Who is your shepherd? I also want to put this in mind. What is the one thing that you know more than anything else? Could you also claim that to be, who God is to you? For instance, if we're saying if I like coaching, I'd say the Lord is my coach. Or, if you really like to be a teacher, you're saying the Lord is my teacher. Or if you're someone who really likes to go into baseball, you're talking about the Lord is, this baseball player. The Lord is this to me. Or, you're talking about the musicians, the ones who play instruments, and you're so skilled at that, that's something you're passionate about. You could say the Lord is my musician. You want to put that title there because it's something that you can relate to very, very well. Something that you know how to do very, very well. This was David's example here, saying the Lord is my shepherd. So we're going to go into Psalms 23. We're going to talk about this for tonight. We're going to be in all of Psalms 23. And he says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. David's saying here basically, the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. We're going to be talking a little bit about tonight, who is your shepherd? We spent a couple of weeks on Psalms 1. We spent some time on Psalms 3, on Psalms 4, and basically I was able to put 4 through 22 into its own category. We talked about when you pray, what does that look like? And now David is saying here, they say that this is probably one of the most poetic parts of the Bible. This is one of the most beautiful parts of the Bible where David is talking to the Lord in such honesty. And the reason why they claim it to be is because David has now gone back in his memory. David has now gone back in his mind and thought, the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is, he's relating back to, man, if I could look back to where I was at 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 30 years ago, if I can just look back to what I was doing before, that was me being a shepherd. And he's thinking to himself, wait a second, the Lord is my shepherd. He's thinking about all that he had done, and he realized, wait a second, wait a minute here. I need to say this really quick. The same way that I was to that sheep, the Lord is to me. And he's just trying to be very, very honest, and he's being very vulnerable in this moment, just telling everyone here, the Lord is this to me. The Lord is exactly this right here. And he's saying, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. We're going to talk a little bit about who is your shepherd tonight. What does the shepherd do? We know the shepherd is someone who takes care of sheep, but we're going to go a little bit deeper into that tonight. We're going to talk a little bit about what does a shepherd do with his sheep, and how can we relate that? How can we take that thought that David had? The same way David was like, man, the way I was in my life, the way I was a shepherd for the sheep that I took care of, the Lord's doing the same thing for me. Can we say the same thing for us? Who is our shepherd in life? Who is, when we say the Lord is my what? What do we put there in that spot? And how can we relate it to, how can we put the Lord into that position for us here? Who is our shepherd? So point number one, what does a shepherd do? We're going to talk about what is a shepherd? What is David talking about from 1 all the way down to the very bottom of this, of Psalms 23. So first of all, I want to make it clear right now. Point number 1, a shepherd purchases. A shepherd is one who purchases. Purchases what? It's the shepherd purchases the sheep from a previous owner. So this sheep that the shepherd is taking care of, the sheep that the shepherd has ownership of, this is not a sheep that they just find out that they're like, oh, let me just go pick that one up real quick and let me take that one with me and let me go looking around for just runaway sheep and keep them. He has to go and he has to find certain sheep, and they have to meet a certain qualification. These sheep that they're taking have to be able to fulfill out a certain role for them. So the sheep is someone the shepherd is someone who purchases sheep from the previous owners. Does this sound a little familiar to us when it comes to our Savior? Let's look at Ephesians chapter 1, verse 7 really quick. Ephesians chapter 1, verse number 7. Tells us here, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins, according to the riches of his grace, wherein he hath abounded towards us in all wisdom and prudence. Right here he's telling, I'm sorry, I think I skipped over somebody. In whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins according to the riches of his grace. Sorry. So in that portion right there, we're seeing that what did the Lord do at that point in time? What is the shepherd doing? The shepherd is purchasing the sheep from a previous owner. The Lord is purchasing us the same way. When we are purchased by the Lord, when we are bought by the Lord, he is purchasing us through what? Through his blood. He is saying, I need to get my sheep. I need to take my sheep. I need to be able to claim my sheep. The same way that the Lord says in the book of Matthew, I am the good shepherd. The sheep know my voice. They hear my voice. They come to me when I call. That's the same thing that Jesus is telling us here. That's the same thing that David is telling us here in this psalm, that he's saying that I'm going to purchase a certain sheep before I can do anything, before I can even take the title of a shepherd, before at any point in my life that I'm even considered a shepherd, I have to purchase sheep. I have to be able to purchase that animal. I have to take that animal away from wherever it was previously owned from. The sheep, a shepherd purchases a sheep from a previous owner. And that right now, what we're seeing that is the Lord does that for us in our previous sins. Maybe there's a previous sin that we're committing so much in our lives. Maybe there's a certain lifestyle that we were living before. I know that we're young. I know that some of us middle school, high school, college, young adult life. But I can say that I'm sure that there's many times where we've made many mistakes before. And if we're the type that has lived a previous life before that we're not too happy with, this is where we can finally say that the same way that David starts off with saying, the Lord is my shepherd. He's taking ownership of that name. He's saying, the Lord is my shepherd. The Lord has claimed me. The Lord has bought me. The Lord has taken me under him and said, you are now my sheep. I have now purchased you. In order for that to happen, he has to buy. He has to claim. He has to be able to take ownership from something else and put it into his ownership. This is the same thing that Jesus is telling us here. I have purchased you. I have bought you. I have taken you from your sinful life and have purchased you with my blood. The sheep, a shepherd purchases the sheep from a previous owner and with their own money. This is not something that they are given. This is not free. Sheep aren't free. They're not free to be able to just go in there and say, oh yeah, I got some here that are free. You can take them. There's a certain, value that the sheep hold, and they have to be able to go in there. They have to purchase with. If a shepherd were to lose a sheep, if the shepherd were to have lost the sheep and they could no longer find it and they could no longer claim it, they have to go and they have to be able to purchase another one. They have to be able to go and find another one to be able to fit into their flock because they need it. They have to purchase with their own money. Jesus Christ purchased us with his blood. He had to sacrifice something. He had to sacrifice his own life on the cross in order to be able to give us that own, in order for him to be able to claim us as his. They're purchased with their own money. The shepherd has to purchase when something happens with their own money. The work that they put in, the work that they have to do, and everything that it comes to the pretty much the 24/7 life of being a shepherd and everything that comes with it, and the dangerous life that they have to take on of being a shepherd, at times that is paid for. They are paid for that job, and when something happens to the sheep, they have to be able to go and they have to be able to pay for it again. And Jesus did the same thing for us. He purchased us with his blood. Again, let's go into 1 Corinthians 6, verse 20. Down there towards the bottom, it tells us here in verse 20, for you are bought with a price. Therefore, glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. If I go a little bit further back from that, it tells us here in verse 19, what? Know ye that not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own. It tells us there in verse 20, for ye are bought with a price. There was a certain price that Christ had to pay in order to claim us, in order to be able to say that he owns us, to be able to say that he has now called us to be part of his flock, in order for him to say, in order for us to be able to claim the title of the Lord is my shepherd, he had to give a certain price. That price was his life on the cross. David is telling us here, the Lord is my shepherd. He's not only just saying that the Lord is someone that takes care of me. The Lord is someone who, just bought me. I'm not just part of his gang. I'm not just part of his group. I'm not just part of what he does. David is saying here that I give full credit. I give full recognition to the fact that Jesus Christ, that God purchased me. I give full recognition of the fact that I am not of my own. I am not just myself. I belong to the Savior. I belong to God himself. There is a certain price that has to be paid for this. There is a certain humility that I have to give, that I have to be able to show in order for me to be able to say, the Lord is my shepherd. I am not my own boss. I am not my own being. I belong to Jesus himself. I belong to God himself. A shepherd purchases the sheep with their own money. And then lastly, on this point here, in point 1, a shepherd purchases the sheep for a purpose. There is a purpose that they need to fulfill. The reason why they take that sheep and they put them into their flock is because they know that that sheep is going to fulfill a certain purpose for them. The same way people buy ox, the same way people buy horses, the same way people buy different animals, different livestock for different things. They purchase these sheep to be able to fulfill a certain role. The Lord has called us. The Lord has taught us. The Lord has told us that there is a certain calling that we have. We talked about this on Saturday. We talked about saying that we each have a talent. We each have a calling. We each are called for a certain thing. As believers, as Christians, we are called to serve God for a certain reason. The sheep that he purchases are bought for a purpose. He doesn't just purchase us because he's like, oh, that one looks nice, or that one's pretty, or that one looks good. I'm just going to take that one because I felt like it. I have, $500 to spare. Let me see how many I can purchase and how many I can get. No, there's a reason why he's doing it. There's a reason why the Lord has purchased, or there's a reason why the shepherd has purchased the sheep, the same way that there's a reason why the Lord has purchased us. There's a reason why the Lord gave his life on the cross for us. And sometimes we lose a little focus on that. When we see the first thing, if I could give a whole message even tonight on just one point and one point only, and when we say the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. When we say just that one part, the Lord is my shepherd, when we say those 5 words, we're giving the Lord the title of saying, we belong to you. We are not of our own. We belong to you. We give you that full title. We give you that full recognition. We see God in the shepherd. We can say that we belong to him. We have a purpose to fulfill. David knew that. David understood that from the very beginning of saying that. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And let's move on from there. Point number 2. Not only does a shepherd purchase, but a shepherd provides. What do they provide? Let's see what the shepherd provides. The sheep with food and water. Let's go into verse 2. Psalms 23. Let's go now into verse number 2. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. In verse 3, he says, He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Another version tells us here, he makes me to lie down in green pastures, and he leads me beside the quiet waters. He refreshes my soul, and he guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. We're talking about here the Lord provides something to us. Well, the Lord, a shepherd provides the sheep with food and water. In order for him to be able to take care of his sheep, he has to be able to provide them with food, and he has to be able to provide them with water. He's got to provide them with a little bit of shelter. He's got to provide them with a little bit of a place to be able to lie down. He's got to provide them with a little bit of a comforting area. Many people, I would say this, but sheep are a little bit more of a cowardly animal. They're an animal that's a little bit more frightened. They're not like other animals, like maybe like dogs, that would be able to stand up and bark and kind of attack if need be. They're not like other lions, or they're not like tigers. They're not like these animals that are able to kind of defend themselves and get up there and be able to say, when something's happening, I can go up and I can be able to go and fight. Sheep are a little bit more the ones that will flee. They're the ones that will kind of run. They're the ones that are kind of just spread out and move out and kind of go look for somewhere to kind of hide away from others. Shepherds got to be able to make sure that these sheep are safe. Shepherds got to make sure that these sheep are fed. A shepherd has to make sure that they have the right, water, that they're drinking from the right area. They're not drinking from an area where the water's contaminated, where the water's real ugly. They're not eating the wrong type of grass. There's a certain area that they can feed on. There's a certain area that they're able to eat from. A shepherd has to provide the sheep with food and water. The same thing God does for us in our lives. When we claim that title, when the Lord is my shepherd, when he claims that, he's not only saying that, well, the Lord gives me the ability to be able to eat, he gives me the ability to drink, he gives me, the money that I need to be able to keep myself going, but he's talking about a spiritual food and a spiritual water. We know that in the New Testament, we hear that when Jesus met the woman at the well, and he tells her, give me to drink, and as the conversation goes on, he tells her that if you drink from this well, if you drink of this water, you will thirst again, but if you drink of the water that I give you, you will never thirst again. And now she's interested, and now she's like, oh, I want to hear about this, let me have some of that, let me get a little bit of that, because that sounds good. I don't want to ever want to thirst again. I don't ever want to be someone that I want to be able to just quench my thirst all the time. And Jesus is talking to her and telling her, what I'm trying to tell you is I am that water. I'm trying to tell you that I am that person that you can take on, that you'll never have to look for another, person again. You'll never have to look for another answer again. The lost life that you're living, how you're wandering so aimlessly in your life, every time you just try to fill it with another person. I mean, she was married around 4 or 5 times, and she was actually living with another person who was not her husband. I'm sure that was an issue in her life where she was just trying to fulfill something in her that she felt was empty. And she was just going on and messing up and making mistake after mistake and error after error, and until finally she found Jesus, and Jesus is telling her, you're just filling your soul with just evil. You're filling your soul with just so many wrong things. You're filling your body, your mind with so much bad. He's like, just come to me and I will quench that thirst that you're looking for, that little bit of an itch that you can't fill. I know sometimes when we get hungry or sometimes we get thirsty, we could just keep drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking. I mean, water, when you really need it, I'm someone who doesn't really enjoy water. I'm someone who really doesn't like to take water like on at all. I'll drink anything else but water. But I can tell you that when you don't have any other option and you are dehydrated, water is probably the most amazing drink you'll have in your life. Like right then and there, you're going to want it, you're going to take it, you're just going to like chug it. There was a movie that came out years ago called 127 Hours, where this guy who was someone who goes out there exploring got stuck in between the cracks of two rocks and he could no longer get out. I don't want to go into any gruesome details, but he had to take off his own arm in order for him to be able to get out from that area. And there's a scene in the movie where he's able to get out, and it's based on a true story of someone that actually got stuck and he had to take off his own arm in order to be able to get out from that rock. And when he was walking through running in the movie, they show you that he lands, he's dehydrated, he's been stuck for 127 hours in that rock, in between two spots where he's just wedged in there and he can't get out. He's able to finally get himself out after this so many amount of hours. And when he finds a puddle of water, it's filled with a bunch of feces. It's filled with a bunch of dirtiness. It's filled with a bunch of flies are roaming all over it. But he falls to his face in the movie and he starts drinking from that water and he's just taking it because his body's just telling him, you need it. Like you see water no matter how nasty it is. I mean, I would never want to drink from that. But in that mind, it's survival mode and he just hits the floor and he's just taking on all that water. And it's gross and it's disgusting. And you're like, wow, but we've never been in a situation where at least I can say for myself, I've never been in a situation where I'm so severely dehydrated where my body's just telling me, just drink it. Like, just take it. Like, you will die without that. And I think David's trying to make this point here is he's trying to say when we're at that point sometimes where we need to be fed, where we need that spiritual food, when we need spiritual water, when we need to be filled, sometimes we'll just look for things that, just don't quench the thirst. Alcohol is something that actually makes you thirstier. Alcohol is something that we don't want anyone, to go into that stuff. We don't tell anyone, okay, that's a whole different message at another time. But I remember someone had told me at some point that when they were talking about drinking, they had said that, did you know that alcohol actually makes you thirstier? That's the reason why you just keep going and going and going. And I was like, really? And they're like, the substance that alcohol is made from, the substance that it has, the barley that it contains, what they make alcohol from, the reason why you keep drinking it, the reason why people get so addicted to it is because the substance inside of it just makes you more and more and more thirsty. You will never stop wanting to drink it. You will become, as a matter of fact, it also not only makes you thirstier, it dehydrates the body. It takes away the water from the body in order for it to be able to make more. So you're there just chugging and chugging, and that's why you see people that have that problem where they just keep going and going. Not only is it just an addiction in itself, but it's an addiction literally to the body because it just becomes dehydrated. And it just becomes so severely dehydrated to the point to where it's just asking you for more and more and more. And sometimes we get to a point in our lives where we do the same thing. The things that we take on in our lives as food and water don't actually quench the thirst or the hunger. What do? They dehydrate you. And they make you look for more and more and more and more. That conversation I had with somebody told me, I will never, ever, that guy was like, I will never drink another single drink ever again in my life when I found out certain facts about what it does to the body, what it does to the mind, what it does to a person. He was like, when I found out that from an early age, he goes, I stopped immediately. He goes, I was done with it. He goes, and I go around telling other people, don't, just quit it, just stop. And he was someone who was like an avid, like, I'm going to tell you right now, like, don't do this to yourself. And when I asked him, like one time I was like, why? It was at a previous job that I used to work, and I asked him, like, may I ask, like, what got you to that point? And he was telling me, he goes, do you know what it does to you? And he went through all these facts. And I couldn't help but think to myself right now when I was doing this message, I'm like, that's exactly what happens to us at certain points. When we say the Lord is my shepherd, he leads me beside the still waters. When he restores my soul, when he goes and he feeds me, David is saying, there's nothing I lack because God gives me everything I need. There's nothing I'm looking for. I'm not dehydrated in my spiritual life. I'm not looking for more and more. I don't need other substances to fill me, only for me to get hungry and thirsty again because the Lord has everything I need. And again, we fill our lives sometimes like that with things that are just causing us to become so dehydrated. And then we start to wonder, and again, we talked about this on Saturday again, we just start to wonder, what is going on in my life? Like, what's happening? Like I'm at rock bottom at this point, but what's going on? What are you taking in that's just dehydrating your spirit? That's just killing off that flame. That's just making it smaller and smaller. What lid are you putting on the candle in your spiritual life that's just making that's suffocating the air out of that little light, out of that spark, that's just killing it? When he says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. When he says, I lack nothing, he's saying, including the food and water that is given. The sheep lack nothing when they're with the shepherd, because he tells them, here is the food that you need. Here's the water that you need. I'm taking you, I'm leading you, I'm giving you that ability to be able to go and eat from there and drink from there. Not only does he provide with food and water, but he provides with comfort and rest. If we go, again, looking at those two verses again, and we look at verses, 2 and 3, he refreshes my soul, he guides me along the right paths. Right there, he's telling us that he gives the sheep with comfort and rest. He's telling them, I will let them lie down in green pastures. I will let them sit beside the still waters. There was one time I think my family and I went to the beach, and it's really fun when you go into the water. I really enjoy going into the water, and there was one time where we really enjoyed. The waves are really strong and the waves really hard, and it's really fun to just go in there, for me at least, and I like to go in there and just experience the waves just crashing and hitting, and it's just all this chaos that's happening in the water at a good safe distance, because at some point you go way too far out. It's really, really dangerous, but I enjoy to the point where you can kind of just feel the chaos just right there in that moment, where you can kind of just have that fun. But I think there's something really nice about being next to just still waters. When he says that he makes me lie down in green pastures, and he leads me, he lets me sit beside the still waters. When the water is nice and calm, when the water is nice and controlled, you can just sit there and you can just relax. The relaxing music that people like to put on, the relaxing sounds that people like to listen to, it's sometimes just the most quiet little storms. It's the most little still waters. It's the most little moments in our lives that we get to just enjoy. And that's what the Lord gives, that type of comfort and rest. The shepherd does not lead the sheep to an area where there's a storm. He doesn't lead them to an area where there's just chaos happening and there's all these animals around them and there's just so much, it's overstimulating to the sheep, and they just start to freak out and they just start to panic and they're just going to run away from it. But he takes them to an area where the grass is nice, where he takes them where the waters are still, and they can just sleep and they can just rest and they can just take a moment to just be like, this is peaceful. The sheep will not have to worry about being put in a situation where they're like, man, what's going to happen? Like, what's going to go on to me? Like, they're able to kind of, when there's time for rest, there's a spot where he can lead them to, and he can tell them, just sit right there. Just relax right here for a moment. And again, I think when we say the Lord is my shepherd, not only does he provide us with spiritual food and water that we need in our lives, not only does he fulfill those things for us, but he also gives us comfort and rest. And I think that's a really, really big thing, because I can say that there's been times where I've had restless nights, and I've been thankful that the restless nights that I get, I can go to the Lord and I can talk with the Lord and I can tell the Lord, there's just something on my mind that I have to just talk to you about. There's something on my mind that I have to speak to you with. A vulnerable moment for me right now that I want to talk about was when I had gone out of having my gallbladder taken out. I think that same night that we got home, that Friday night that we had gotten home, released from the hospital, when Christy and I went to go lie down, we were like, okay, time to go to bed. Let's just call it a day. We just got home. We've been several days in the hospital already. It was that moment when I hit the pillow that I looked up and I started talking to the Lord. And then I realized when I was talking to the Lord, I had just told him, I think this is the most one-to-one conversation I've had with you in probably days, even right before going into surgery. And I was talking to the Lord, and I was just telling him, I think this has been the most one-to-one conversation I've had with you, Lord, in the longest time. When was the last time I actually just spoke to you like this? And I think it was a moment where I felt the most absolute comfort and rest, like the most peaceful moment. I'm home. I'm not able to move, push, or pull anything that is over a certain weight limit. I'm not able to do much. I need help getting off the couch. I need help getting into bed. I can't go getting out of bed by myself at this point in time. It's like everything, all the wounds are fresh. Everything just happened to me. But in that moment there where I'm kind of like, man, like I'm in some pretty, really bad discomfort, I can say that I had the most comfort and rest because that one-to-one conversation I had with the Lord just made me feel so much better. Like in that moment there, nothing else mattered but just that one-to-one conversation I had, because I knew where the Lord was leading me to. I knew where the Lord was putting me to. I knew exactly what I came out of the hospital with. And I knew exactly where he put me at. Because in that moment when I lied down, that moment where I was talking to the Lord, I could have said right then and there, you led me beside the still waters. You let me sit here just in a beautiful, comforting spot. And it just made me tear up, and it made me just sit there thinking like everything that's happened from Tuesday till now, just everything, like in less than a week, like of everything that's just happened in my life, I can sit here right now and I can talk to you, and I'm at a point where like I'm like at the most comfortable and at the most rest. That's what the Lord does for us. When we have those hard moments, when we have those tough times, when we're even in our darkest moment, he provides us with comfort and rest. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I lack nothing. Food and water spiritually, and comfort and rest spiritually as well. And the last point, on point number 2, a shepherd provides the sheep with direction and guidance. And I know I think on the previous one I read the wrong verse, but verse 2 says, he makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters, the still waters. And if we see in the last point that I have here, it's verse 3, he restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. When you take on the Lord as your shepherd, when you call the Lord as your shepherd, when you claim, when he claims you as his, when he takes ownership of you, there's a certain direction and guidance that he will offer you. There's a certain way that he wants to lead you. There's a certain way that the Lord wants to take you. There's a certain way that the Lord wants to give you certain direction. The shepherd is not going to take his flock into an area where there are animals that will take them and kill them and want to, just devour the flock. And that way he can go and say, well, there's 1 less, 2 less, 3 less, 4 less that I have to worry about. But he's keeping the flock safe. And he knows if I go down this path right here, I have the chance of running into some pretty bad animals. But if I go around a little bit of a longer way, if I take this shortcut, it's better for the flock. It's better for them. I have to give them the certain direction. I have to take them a certain way. I have to be able to get them to understand that they need to move with me, that they need to go with me this way. And sometimes it's kind of difficult for the flock to be able to obey, but that's the shepherd's job, is to guide them, is to give them direction as to where is the best place for them to be at that point in time. And God does the same thing for us in our life. Again, David's reflecting and David's thinking, when I was a shepherd, when I was doing these things, I had to take my flock to the safest place. And now David is sitting here writing, saying, Lord, you do the same thing for me. You do the exact same thing when it comes to my life. You give me direction and you give me guidance. You give me direction and you show me exactly where you want me to go. And again, in a room full of people that are pretty much in a similar age group, when we're talking about people that are in middle school, when we're talking about people in high school, we're talking about people in college, we're talking about young adults, we're talking about people that are discovering their careers, we're talking to people that are just right now putting their foot, they're getting their feet wet into adulthood, and they're getting ready to just say, all right, here I go, I got to make my profession, I got to get out there, and I got to do something, and I got to be able to make something happen. From that age group all the way to that point right that we're talking about, the Lord gives us guidance and the Lord gives us direction. At any point in our lives, but specifically right now, the group that I'm talking to, the people that I'm talking to, the ones that I want to really, really hear are us right now, to understand this, that when it comes to any point in our life that we're at right now, any place that we find ourselves in, he will give you guidance and he will give you direction. He will show you exactly where you need to go. The only thing you have to do is say, the Lord is my shepherd. I claim you. I want you to be the shepherd in my life. I want to take direction from you. And again, the verse that just comes to my mind is a verse that we talked about this previous weekend, is a verse that I really like to think about, is the one where Jesus says that he looked upon he looked upon the multitude, he looked upon everyone, he was moved with compassion. He looked at them because he felt like they were sheep without a shepherd. He says they're so lost, they're just so out there. Like he goes, I don't know, at times, like, his heart is breaking for them because they have no leadership, because they have no one to guide them. They're like the sheep that are just they're just running around chaotically everywhere, don't know where to go, don't know what's the best direction. One of them could be running all the way to danger, and he's just thinking like, man, these people are so lost. When he says like sheep without a shepherd. He goes with like sheep without a leader, like people with no hope and no direction. They're like walking around blindly, don't know what to do. They don't know what's happening. They don't know what's going on. And I can say the fact that he's looking at the disciples, telling them, like, we need to rescue them. We need to go out there. We need to bring them here to me. They need to see me. They need to see the Father. They need to see God. They need to see that I am the way, the truth, the life. I want them to see that this is the shepherd that they're looking for here. The shepherd that they're searching for, the leader that they're looking for, the person to rescue them is right here, right in front of them. The shepherd is now here. He looked upon them as a sheep without a shepherd, and he says, I am that shepherd. When I call them, they hear my voice. My sheep, the ones that I've claimed, the ones that I've taken ownership of, when I call them, they know my voice. Sometimes, I can tell you for sure, I'm sure that there were certain shepherds that were out there when they would meet with other ones. It's kind of like, wait, is that yours or that mine? It's kind of like, wait a second. And they couldn't tell them apart. But when the shepherds would call their flock, when they would start calling their sheep to come, a lot of them would start running towards that one shepherd because they knew that's the voice I recognize. That's the voice that I hear. That's the voice that I got to go towards. And God says the same thing. I am the good shepherd. When I call them, when they hear my voice, my people, believers, the ones that follow me, know to come to me, know to come towards me, and I will give them exactly what they need. I am that shepherd for them. Gives us direction and guidance. He will never lead us astray. He will never lead us down a spot where he goes, that looks pretty dangerous. Why don't you take that first and I'll let you go. And then I'll see if it looks pretty good for the next person. No, he says, I know exactly where I'm taking you. I know exactly where you need to go to. I know exactly what purpose you have in your life. I know exactly what I made you for. From the beginning of time, this has been given to you. He says, I know exactly where I want to take you. I know exactly where I want to lead you to. So a shepherd is one who purchases, a shepherd is one who provides, and a shepherd is a one who protects. They protect the sheep from their enemies. 1 Peter 5:8. In 1 Peter 5, verse 8, it tells us here, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. He says, be sober, be vigilant. Be on your toes, be ready to go, because your adversary, because the enemy, because the one that's trying to bring you down, because the one person that is trying to harm you, the one person who doesn't want good for you, the one person who does not want to see you succeed for the cause of Christ, the one person who doesn't want to see you become a follower, the one person who does not want to see you do any good in life, the one person who does not want to see you reach out to the Lord, reach out to the shepherd, the one person who does not want this, your adversary, the devil himself, the enemy that we have, is like a lion. He's roaring about. He's roaring like a lion. He's ready to go out there and he's ready to devour the next person who's weak. He's ready to go out there and he's ready to take on that one thing. It's like the sheep are just so cowardly. The sheep are just so scared that the shepherd has to protect them. The shepherd has to go and protect them from the enemies that are out there, whatever animal it may be. What other person might be trying to steal them. He has to make sure that they're safe. He has to make sure that when he has them there, he's able to be on 24/7 guard. He's watching them. He's making sure that they're good. He's making sure that no other animal is going to go out there and take them. No other animal is going to go out there and try to eat them. No other animal is going to go out there and try to just like wipe them out for food. A shepherd is one who protects the sheep from their enemies. The Lord does the same thing for us. When he says, be sober, be vigilant, be ready. He says, just be with God. Be ready to stand with God. Be ready to be in his word. Be there studying his scripture. Study to show thyself approved unto God. Be ready to go and be in prayer. Be ready to go and get around like-minded people. Be ready to be in a follower of Christ's mindset, because your enemy is ready to take you out, because your enemy is ready to trick you the same way he did it to Eve, the same way he's ready to just twist words on Eve, and the same way he's trying to tell her, wait a second, what did God tell you would happen if you bit of the fruit? Wait a minute. And let's talk about that for a moment. Like, did he really say that? Like what were what were the exact words that he used? And Eve is standing there like, I can tell you, like, he kind of said it like this, but I don't know, I got confused somewhere along the way. And he's ready to go and he's ready to say, now I have a hold on them to be able to just bring them down. Just mess with them for just a moment here. The enemy's ready to do that to us. The enemy's ready to discourage any Christian from being able to move on for God. The enemy was ready here to just have David just, fall and say, you know what, Lord, this is happening to me. Forget this. I'm done with this. I want out. I don't want to do this anymore. I had a good run at this, but now it's time for me to move on from this. I'm kind of like going to call it quits here. The enemy was ready to have David just, succumb to these circumstances and say, I give up. I'm done. But the shepherd was ready to take on. The shepherd, God himself, was ready to tell David, I have you. I'm here to protect you. I'm here to be able to keep you away from those enemies. A shepherd protects the sheep from their environment. Sheep would go and they drink from the water. They don't know how far to go. They don't know if it's kind of slippery or not. They go and they drink, and what happens? They slip and they fall into the water. They panic. They freak out. They can drown. They're not too careful. They don't know the environment that they're in. They don't know the environment that they put themselves on. They don't know where they're at in that just little bit of time. They don't know exactly what does it look like. They go thinking it's okay for me to wander to this spot, only to find myself stuck, only to find myself lost. And that's when they start to panic. That's when they start to freak out. That's when they start to wonder, oh, what did I get myself into? And I've been like that many points in my life where I'm like, okay, this is a good spot for me to go to. This is a good direction for me to take. And this is a good way for me to go. And I'm doing this by myself. And there I go, only to find myself lost. And now I'm stuck with now I can't get back. Like, oh, now I can't do this. I think I did that one time when I was going over to Christy's house on their property. I thought that I could reverse my truck into a certain spot in order to be able to reverse it better the other way to get myself out and have a better chance when I was leaving later on, only to find myself stuck. And my truck was stuck, and I'm kind of like, okay, I can get myself out of this, hold on. And I kept trying and trying, only for me to just, the tires were just spinning, and the mud was just flying. And then I called her, and I was like, hey, I need some help getting out. Can you tell your dad to come and help me get out of this situation? I was super embarrassed. I was super oh my goodness, this is an embarrassing moment. This is a really moment for me to be in. I don't want to just come out he's probably walking out and he's staring at me what are you doing? What did you try? What was going through your head when you were trying to do that at that one point in time? And I'm thinking, I had the right idea. I felt like I had the right idea. I felt like I was doing this the right way. And then he had told me, in that spot right there, you got to be careful, because where it looks like it's not muddy, where the tall grass is at, it gets really, really bad. He says, but in the spot where we drive around through all the time, even if it looks flooded, you can go through. The ground is so hard underneath. He goes, you can just drive through. Even if the water's flooded, he goes, you can go through. You won't get stuck. He goes, just try it. You know, you can go through there. You can be able to drive safely through there. And I can just think of this comparison the same way that sometimes we go out there and we start doing things and the Lord is just watching us going, where is he going? Like, where is she going? Like, what are they doing? And then we find ourselves stuck, and then we're meeting with the Lord, and we're talking to the Lord, and we're talking, and we're praying to him, and he's just looking at it, he's going, well, what did you think was going to happen in that moment? Like, what did you think was going to happen when you tried that on your own? What did you think was going to happen? Like, when you were talking to that one guy, or when you were talking to that one girl, or when you were pushing on and doing this and doing that, and things started to change, and the conversations became different, and then we get heartbroken, and we start to, like, you know, wonder, the Lord's just watching us, and the Lord's thinking, what did you think was going to happen when you knew that that was something you weren't supposed to do? As a sheep looks over the water and they're kind of like, is this a safe place for me to go to? And they take that one last step and it's very slippery and they fall into the water and now they're freaking out. Now they're panicking. Now the shepherd has to go and pull them out from there. And he's thinking, the shepherd's thinking, like, what were you trying to do? Like that's not a good area to be at. The sheep doesn't know. The sheep doesn't know until that happens. The same thing happens with us sometimes. We don't know the danger that we're putting ourselves in until we finally see that the situation has changed and things have happened. And now we're stuck and now we're calling and now we're freaking, now we're panicking out. And the Lord's telling us, what did you think was going to happen? Like, what did you think was going to, happen in that one moment when you knew that you weren't supposed to do that? A shepherd has to protect the sheep from the environment around them. Even the weather, even the storms, even those type of things that they get scared with. They get frightened with thunder. They get frightened with lightning. They start to freak out during a storm. It's loud for them. It's chaotic for them. It's strange for them. It's unfamiliar to them. It's not peaceful. It's not quiet. It's too loud for them. He has to be able to tell them, I'm here. It's all right. I got you. Like, it's okay. He has to put them in a spot where he's like, you know I'm right here to make sure that nothing's going to happen to you. The same thing the Lord does with us in our situations. We see the storms happening in our lives. We see the weather gets crazy. We see that, like, life gets chaotic, and the Lord's just telling us, I'm right here. Like, if you call on me, if you trust in me to be your shepherd, if I am the one that you're calling on, if I have claimed you, if you're saying that you belong to me, I am that shepherd that is willing to protect you from the enemies and from the things around you. And lastly, a shepherd protects the sheep from themselves. Shepherd has to protect the sheep from themselves because the sheep can, frighten themselves. The sheep will go and they can harm themselves without even knowing. They can, whether it's overeating, whether it's over drinking water, whatever it may be that they do to themselves, he has to make sure that they are kept in check, and he has to be able to tell them, nope, that's too much for you. You can't do that. You are going to hurt yourself. You're going to harm yourself. You're going to put yourself in a situation that you don't want to be in. And I even, know this analogy that they told us, I think that we learned a lot, several times here growing up in Sunday school. It's things of like where the sheep wanders off too far, where the sheep wanders off so far into a place where they can't, that he leaves the sheep behind and he goes and he searches for the one. And when he finds the one, they rejoice because he found that one that he's able to bring back. But even more so within that story, they say that sometimes what you have to do to the animal is you have to either break the leg, you have to be able to wound the animal because you have to show them what you did you shouldn't have done, where you went to you shouldn't have gone to. Now you got to rely on me to be able to come back. And it teaches them, I should not have done that. I should not have gone to that direction. I should not have wandered off that far. As much as it sounds painful, as much as it sounds like it hurts, as much as it sounds like, man, like having to do that to an animal, it's the way that the shepherd has to show them, I'm protecting you from things that you don't want to get into. I'm protecting you from yourself, from harming yourself even further than where you would have gone because I wasn't with you, because you wandered off. God does the same thing to us sometimes. Sometimes we have to learn our lessons the hard way. I can tell you that one really, really hurts. And when we go so far off and we wander off so far into our relationship with God that we get ourselves in trouble and things happen. And then when God calls us back and we finally get right back with him, it's just sometimes that pain is just sometimes so hard. And the Lord's thinking, I just have to let that happen. Like you're going to have to go through that. Like that's just the pain that you're going to have to feel in this moment because it's just how far you wandered off. I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to carry you. But you also have to feel a little bit of that pain. You have to feel a little bit of what you went through because I can't take that away in this moment. The situation you put yourself in is really hard, but he rescues us from ourselves. He keeps us from ourselves. If we're trusting the shepherd to bring us back, if we're trusting God to be able to take care of us, if we're trusting that the shepherd has claimed us and we lack nothing, that we are not in want, then he tells us that he protects us. He tells us that he guides us. In Psalms chapter 3, verse 4, and again, we're beginning to wrap this up right here. In Psalms 23, verse 4, tells us here, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. In this moment right here, he's just telling them, all the enemies that you have, everywhere that you go to, no matter what it may be, I am there to protect you. I am there to walk you through that. I'm there to go with you through that valley of the shadow of death. It's an area where you can see that there's no light. It's an area where they can see that they have no way of being able to see if there's an enemy on top of them or if there's an enemy around them. They're in a vulnerable spot where David is talking about saying, when you walk through that valley, when you go through that area, you are at a disadvantage. From a military standpoint, your enemies can attack you from above. Your enemies can attack you from anywhere that they want, and you are disarmed, and you are in no position to be able to fight back. But he says that when he walks through the valley of the shadow of death, he will fear nothing that comes his way because he knows that the shepherd is with him. He knows that the Lord is with him. He says, your rod and your staff. He says the one thing that gives that shepherd the ability to do is the one thing that gives a shepherd the ability to say that that is his title, that is what he's doing, is that rod, is that staff that he carries with him. It's that one weapon that he gets to use to be able to take on any other animal that comes his way. It's anything that they can show that I will fight off, I will fight for you, I will fight with you, I will guide you through this. It's that one thing that he says, they comfort him, knowing the fact that the shepherd carries that weapon. The shepherd carries that one object with him, being able to say that I will guide you, I will help you, don't worry, I will get you through this moment. There's protection that the shepherd offers. There's protection that the shepherd can give. There's protection that God gives us in our lives, whether it's from our enemies, whether it's situational, like the environment, or even from ourselves, us making wrong decisions, us going through things that we know we shouldn't be, us just making that one wrong choice. It's not a choice that defines us for the rest of our life. It's not a choice that is going to mark us, and it's not a choice that the Lord is saying, that's it, you're gone, I can no longer help you. But it's the Lord saying that even from, I will protect you, even from the things that you do to yourself, I can bring you back. I can have you, I can claim you once again. And our last point for tonight, a shepherd promises the sheep peace around their enemies. In verse number 5, he says, thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. I want to focus really quick on that first part of verse number 5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Can you guys picture right now, if there's people in your life that don't like you, there's people that are out to get you, if there's people that you know that you can't stand, could I invite them right now and clear the room, and I would have them with you and you alone in this room? And you have to sit there with them. Like right now, if you can think of, and I'm not trying to make, I'm not trying to cause any type of conflict. What I'm saying is, can you imagine right now, if there's people in your life, if there's someone that right now you know that causes you some type of anger, frustration, if they cause you some type of like, oh man, like I have a really hard time, or they've started rumors about me, or they've done things to me before, or they said things about me before. Can you imagine if you sat right here and everyone else just left and you're the only one in the room with them? He says, thou preparest a table. There's a table set. There's a spot set right here. It says, before me, in the presence of my enemies. I'm sitting right here in the presence of the people that are out to get him. He's talking about his son, the one that betrayed him, the one that committed treason. He's talking about everyone that betrayed him. He's saying, Lord, if you did it right now, you put a table right here with all of my enemies, the ones that are trying to kill me, and I'm sitting right here in the front of the table with them. I'm sitting in the middle of with them right now. He says, you have prepared that table for me among my enemies. And he says, and the one thing that makes it most significant here about it, more than anything, is thou preparest. He says, God, you have given me that. The shepherd is the one who provides, the one who gives that promise, the one who sits here saying, you have given that table before me and my enemies. But guess what? He says, thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. He says, even in the midst of all the things that are happening with my enemies, even if I sit here with every single one of those 1,000 soldiers that want to kill me, that have been told to kill me, no harm will come to me at this table because you're protecting me, because you're with me. And again, I just give that analogy, I just give that example because I can't imagine if the people that have caused me some type of harm, if the people that have done wrong to me, the people that have done so much thing, again, a different message on forgiveness, different message on those type of things. What I'm talking about right now is the fact that if we know that there's someone out there ready to harm us, whether it's, like physically, whether it's emotionally, whether it's, they're trying to do it mentally, whatever games that they're playing with us, whatever things that they want to mess with us for, imagine just sitting right here. I tell everyone else, guys, let's go. It's just you and those one person, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. Whoever, how many may be, the Lord prepares that table in front of us in the presence of our enemies. But then he follows it up with verse 6 and says, surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. And I want to go into the next point. Not only does the shepherd promise that there will be peace around their enemies, knowing the fact that even amongst the enemies that they sit with, even amongst the people that are causing us conflict, the situations that we have in life, you can sit there knowing the fact that no harm comes to you, that there's peace in that moment around that table. A shepherd promises the sheep happiness beyond the world. A sheep promises happiness out there that is beyond what the world could even offer. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. He's telling us here that David is saying that even in the moments like this right now, even in this time right now that he's talking about the Lord, now he's making this really clear distinction. He's saying, I'm going beyond what the shepherd does for the sheep now. I'm talking about what the Lord does for me and what he does for our relationship here. And he's saying that you anoint my head with oil, my cup runs over. I am just filled with blessings beyond blessings. And he says, goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. He says, from here on out, I know the fact that there's goodness, that there's mercy, there's happiness, there's joy, there's peace promised to me more than ever before. John chapter 16, verse 33, a verse I use all the time, and I think it's a great verse to use over and over and over again. But in John chapter 16 and verse 33, it tells us here, these things I have spoken unto you that you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. He says, be happy, be glad, be cheerful, be excited. Just jump with joy because I have overcome all the problems you have in this world. Guys, if we have problems on this side, and I know a lot of us have already experienced problems or we're going to continue to experience problems, whether it's, at work, whether it's with people, whether it's with our own selves, whether it's with health, whether it's with anything that we go through, whatever it may be, the Lord tells us, I want you to be happy. I want you to find joy because you're going to find it in me. He says, because I am going to give you that peace. He says, these things I've spoken unto you, that in me, with me, as your shepherd, I've claimed you, I've taken you, I have called you already to be with me. Through me, you might have peace. You will find that peace. You will find that happiness. He says, in this world, you'll have tribulation. The problems that you're going to face, I take care of them. I have already conquered them. He says, be of good cheer. I have already overcome this world. If he overcomes death, he's saying, there's nothing else that can harm you. If he goes, if death itself cannot even scare you, if death itself cannot even claim you, what else can? And David is thinking the same thing here. Goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. And the last point that I have here, a shepherd promises the sheep a never-ending relationship. Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. And the last verse here, I got to change it back over really quick. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. I will be with God forever. I have this relationship with him that cannot be taken away. I have a relationship with the Savior that cannot be changed. It cannot be broken. It cannot be separated. It cannot be broken because I will dwell in the house of the Lord. I will have this type of relationship with him forever. The shepherd promises the sheep. The shepherd promises, God promises us a never-ending relationship. A never-ending relationship. I want us to really kind of focus on that. As we begin to close, my last little question I want to ask you is, who is the shepherd to you? Who is this shepherd to you? Who is this shepherd that we're talking about? Who is this shepherd that we have claimed? Is it, another friend that you have? As I've been giving this example, I've been talking about our relationship with God. Maybe at times we can honestly sit here and say, well, you know what? I haven't claimed the Lord to be my shepherd. I really haven't. I'm saved. Yes, I'm a believer. Yes, I'm somebody who comes to church. Yes, I'm somebody who is here frequently. Yes, I was here on Saturday. I heard the message about being ignited for Christ. I'm somebody who is now trying to give my life to the Lord. But I can honestly say right now, I cannot say the Lord is my shepherd. I can say my friend is my shepherd. I can say social media is my shepherd. I can say right now that, these things are my shepherd. I can say that this person is my shepherd. If I let myself go too carried away, if I let myself go too far, if I let myself not focus on Christ, if I just put all my faith and trust in Christy, my spouse, if I were to say, Christy is my shepherd, at some point, something's going to fail. At some point, she cannot carry me. At some point, she cannot carry everything that I have to go through. At some point, she cannot be there to protect me every single step of the way. At some point, something's going to happen. She does not have that ability to be able to save me from certain things that I'm going to have to go through. But there's somebody who can. But there's somebody who is. Who is the shepherd to you? Who do you claim? Who has bought you? Who has taken ownership of you? Can I say for a moment, again, I use Instagram all the time, and I can say that Instagram is probably one thing that just holds me like this at times. Mindlessly scrolling, and I'm just going through reel after reel, and just, account after account, and just scrolling and just scrolling for hours and hours to go by, to a point to where I might be able to say, Instagram is my shepherd, I shall not want. Crazy for a moment there, but then I find myself saying, well, wait a second. Does Instagram provide me with everything I need? Does it provide me with the food and water that I need? Does it provide me with comfort and rest? Does it give me direction and guidance? Is it going to be the one to protect me from my enemies or from myself? Or is it the one that just leads me further and further and says, nah, you got this. Take care of yourself. Don't worry about what else is going on out there. Just worry about yourself. But wait a second. Is it a self-centered life? Yes, it's a self-centered life. Yes, take care of yourself. You need to take care of the number one person in this room, and that's you. You need to focus on yourself. You need to be, with yourself. And then I find myself spiraling only to the point where I'm kind of like, wait a second, I'm so lost. Wait a second, I've gone so far off. I can't claim this. I can't do this anymore. I can't be this involved. And it's just one social media. It's just one part of an app. It's just one little thing. If I needed to, I could delete it off my phone. I mean, but then it has certain power over me that if I get too carried away, if I don't get careful enough, I can claim that to be my shepherd. Or am I going to run to the Savior? David could have claimed here and said, no, my title is my shepherd. Me being king is my shepherd. I'm going to use that to my advantage. But he dropped everything down and he said, no, the Lord is my shepherd. Who is the shepherd to you? Who do you claim to be your shepherd? Who is the one that you claim to have in your life when you can say Psalms 23 verse 1, very plain and simple, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Everything David lists from verse 2 and on is him saying everything that's here, the Lord provides me with. Everything that he has here, everything that he's done, the Lord gives to me. The Lord provides to me. Who is the shepherd to you? Who do you have in your life as your shepherd that guides you, that takes you where you need to go? And as we begin to close, as we begin to wrap up, I really, really want us to focus on this for just a moment here. Just really thinking to ourselves as we go on from here on out. When we leave from here, when we leave church, different story, different time. We get to go on our lives. We get to live the lives that we live on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Who are you going to call on at that point in time? Who is the shepherd that you're looking to? Maybe there's something you're going through right now at this exact moment. Maybe there's something that's happening right now to you at this exact time where you're just like, I need something. I need to call upon somebody. I need something to change. Might I ask you to say, right now is your time to call on the Lord. Right now is your time in prayer to think, Lord, I want you to purchase me. I know you have already saved me. I'm saved. I know I'm a Christian. I know I'm on my way to heaven. I know what it means to have salvation, but I just haven't let you take full ownership of me yet. I just haven't become part of your flock just yet. This is that moment right now to be able to say, that's it. I need that. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, Lord, I want to thank you for this time that we get to spend together this Wednesday night. I just want to thank you, Lord, for each and every person who's here, dear Lord. And I want to thank for anyone that was watching on the live stream or may watch at some point. Lord, I just pray that this message that I gave right now, I just want to pray that your word that was just preached from right now, Psalms 23 saying, the Lord is my shepherd. Lord, I want to pray, dear Lord, that at this moment right now, at this point in time right now, if there's somebody here who's going through something, if there's somebody here who knows, I can't do this anymore. I can't take this on anymore. Whatever problem it may be, maybe it's a person in their life that's just really, really getting to them. Maybe it's something that there's someone that they haven't forgiven just yet, or maybe somebody that they're looking for forgiveness to get from. Maybe there's just something happening. Maybe it's a situation, family, friends. Maybe it's just something that they're going through themselves. Maybe it's just a roller coaster of emotions in their lives. Maybe it's just something that only they know about. They haven't expressed to anyone else. They haven't talked to about with anyone else. Maybe whatever it may be, Lord, I want to pray that right now. I want to pray that at this moment, I want to pray that they can fully go to you, that they can right now at this moment claim, the Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. I don't need anything else when you're my shepherd. You provide me with everything I need. You provide me with everything I need to make it. You are that shepherd that protects me. You are that shepherd that guides me. You are that shepherd that ensures I go in the direction you want me to go in. I am safe under your ownership. If there's somebody here tonight, Lord, who just needs to say, again, I know what it means to be saved. I know exactly what salvation looks like. I know what that means, but I just haven't given full ownership to you. Right now, Lord, I just want to pray that whoever it may be at this point in time would be able to say, enough's enough. I want the Lord to fully claim me. I want the Lord to fully just have ownership of me and my life. Would they do that right now? That they would just pray that, or they would just be in this prayer of, Lord, claim me. Purchase me. That, Lord, that I can trust in your full ownership, that you would have me in your palms, that you would have me in your grasp, that we would have this relationship from here on, that I can trust in you to be the shepherd in my life, that I can fully, confidently say, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Lord, I pray for them right now, and I pray for us as we get ready to end, as we get ready to go on for the rest of this week, Lord, that you would provide us with everything that we need, Lord, that we can fully trust in you to be the shepherd, not only here in our church, not only here at NBC, but in the world that we go out into, that you would protect us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.